What's up guys, welcome back to another drawing tutorial. Patreon request today from Stray, domain expansion, gojo versus sukuna. Gonna divide my page diagonally first, right? So this original manga panel, marked my page, is like a box. Because my page is rectangular, I'm gonna try and like draw in things that I can't see. So finishing their hair and their shoulder at the back mostly. So I'll just go ahead and divide this diagonal. Okay, so this is the divide we're dealing with. So we'll go with gojo up here first, right? Big blue eye, right? So we'll go up that way, right? Real sort of square they draw it. And then we're gonna add, so the eyelashes, right? So we'll go down this way, add a spike. And then there's like all these eyelashes in the corner, like that, right? And then we'll bring it sort of back this way and add some here as well. And just down into there. Bottom eyelid line just curves around this way. And then they do add a tear duct sort of line inside here as well. And then there is some eyelashes on the bottom, just straight lines like that. So again, just circle for iris, big blue eye, domain expansion, glowing blue eye, pupil in the middle, like so. Then we have an eyelid line on top and his eyebrow going this way. And so his eyebrow is thicker at the front, thinner at the back, and sometimes they put texture in the eyebrow there. So his nose is weird, right? So there's like hatching sort of here at the front and then some coming down this way. And his fingers kind of covering his face. So the other eye is like behind his nose line on this side, right? So we'll add that, right? So we'll do a curving nose line there. And this touches his eyebrow, which curves that way. Right, so we're in 3/4 pose, so this eyebrow is different to this one. So his other eye is in this space here, and you're about an eye width over. So the width of this eye is about that distance over as well. And then we will curve his eyelid line and add some of those spiky eyelashes there. Then we can actually see like his eyeball on the side curving back in. Eyelashes stick out here like so, and then his other iris looking up just here underneath the eyelid. In there. Another glowing blue eye in there. So we can, his nose drawn pretty simple in the manga, just like this. And there's like some hatching down here, I think. And he's smiling, so he's got like just a smiling top lip. And this one disappears behind his fingers, but we'll kind of just touches it kind of. And then the bottom lip curving around here, and he just leaves like a little white section inside for teeth. Like that. Bottom lip line, some hatching just underneath, and then his chin just here. So we can't see his jaw because of the fingers coming along, but we can see his cheek on this side. So it curves in and then out around like that, and then this joins his eyebrow sort of area here. And then we just have hair that kind of comes across this that way, so his hairline then goes up here, I think. Yeah, so his hair all goes like across his head this way. So there's all just these little spikes and texture lines just coming across his head here. And it kind of just comes down the side of his head to a sideburn. Here. Looks like this hatching sort of lines there. All right, so we got an ear coming out from the sideburn here. Curves around like so. And then we have ear lines inside. Right, and then this becomes his jaw. Sort of in just beside here. That'll join his chin there, but like you could draw it and erase it afterwards, but his finger comes across that he's doing the domain expansion sort of thing. So the rest of his hair, just those gojo standard sort of spikes. All coming out this way, and then there's like some on top of his head here, like his fringe texture lines and all that stuff that way, and then coming out here and around his head, so we can just see them. This one has lots of texture, you know, hairlines and all. Just going off the page there. And that's all you can kind of see for his hair, really. Right, so that hand comes across this way, right? So we've got like two knuckles here first, right? Two bent over fingers. So this one comes out this way, down. This is his ring finger, I think, yeah. And then this is his pinky. There. So you have two knuckles on your fingers and one where it joins the hand. Right, and then this bumps around 3 times there. Some skin folds and some fingernails then. real square ones. And then the back of his hand will just like disappear down this way. The palm of his hand is here. Some more skin lines and stuff on it. So the other side of the hand, so bumps around this way. Then we have two fingers sticking up and then the thumb sticking out, right? So we've got coming up past his chin here. Bumpy sort of index finger, right, curving around. And this goes behind, so he's doing this thing, right? So there's one in behind the other one. So this one's here. We got like just two sort of bumpy sections there again. Yeah, it's these little sort of skin lines. Some of the fingernail. So hands are very complicated, so take your time, you know. So go down for the hand, palm of the hand now, and the thumb just sort of sticking out here. Like that. Right, and then we can just see wrist and forearm bumping off here, drawn pretty simple. And this joins what looks like his shoulder. Everything's kind of black, right? So he doesn't draw the anatomy sort of that much. So you can just see kind of a bump for his tricep and shoulder sort of here. And then it kind of bumps into the top of his eye for what looks like his shoulder, but it could be his trapezius on the other side. I'm not really sure. There's just these sort of little sort of hatching lines there. And then the collar of his shirt goes there. And then we can see like a neckline. Maybe another one going that way. It's all hatching and stuff, nothing too detailed. It's just all shadow. And then his back, right? So this kind of bumps this way a couple of times, just like boom. I imagine this is his shoulder there. And then we just see hatching, hatching. It's probably the top of his trapezius because we're looking down. So his neck should go, it's all black there. So I imagine that's shoulder in there somewhere. But again, it's all just black in there. And then we'll just add like some rocks floating before we go over and do sukuna. So stuff like this. Right, so that is gojo, basically. So now we'll go down, do sukuna down here, right? So again, we can see two hands in this one and his face. So I'm going to, because we're nearly in profile, I'm going to start with his nose, right? So we do this sort of L shape there. It's like an upside down 7 or a letter L, backwards L. And then his nostril, just there. And then he's got that sort of tattoo on his nose. I'm just going to color these black because they're black in the manga. Okay. So this continues up and becomes his eyebrow, right? His eyebrow line on this side. Gets quite long. And then it kind of zigzags its way back up there. His eye is across from here, just down. So we go a thick sort of eyebrow line, or eyelid line, should I say. Going that way. Thicken it up a bit. And then the bottom, very thin eyes. He's kind of looking up underneath his eyelid. There. And then he has a pupil. And another light sort of bullseye-like eye line in there. And then there's an eyelid line just coming across. And then an eyebrow. Thicker at the front. Going back that way. Very thin at the back. And it's actually black, so I'll fill it in. And there's like a nose line or something in there. And some hatching under his eye there. So he's got that other eye shape in here. Not as much detail in it as the big one, but similar. Like that. Maybe like a bag and an eyelid on top. And his other eye, so we can kind of see it just in here. So we got like an eyelid shape. Like in there. And then his iris and his pupil kind of looking up at us from in behind the nose. Kind of like that. Very thin, barely visible really. So some artists would color in that in complete black shadow because it's so hard to see. He actually has a hatching stuff all inside, so you could do that as well if you wanted. If you wanted to sort of hide it. It's like a little trick they do sometimes. Because it's barely visible anyway. So top lip. There's more tattoos on his face, but we'll just get the face in. So top lip there. Comes in. And then he's sort of smiling as well. Similar to Gojo. He's got this sort of dimple on the side of his mouth. And then bottom lip. And we can just see like the white of his teeth again sort of remains. So like there's like a little bit of a shadow he does like that. So it's just done with ink, you know, it's real subtle, but it's good, like very efficient way of drawing, I guess. A little mouth line and then a sort of a lip line here. And then his chin kind of comes down from the lip around there. And then the jaw. Real sharp jaws, the way he draws them. Real angled. And the ears the same. Like that. And then we have ear lines inside here. And we have these symbols on the side of his face. So they're kind of like birds, I guess, kind of flying in the sky. That's what they look like to me anyway. Then on the chin. Hatching just there. Yeah, and then he has that symbol on his forehead here. So these little sort of spikes. And then his hairline. So zigzag sort of done very quick. Looks like with an ink brush or something. So just that zigzag coming across the forehead. Like so. And then like loads of hair spikes. So I'm going to go like the whole way around his head. But the image in the manga like stops somewhere here. So what I'm going to do is just go down here and kind of just make it up. I'm looking at a couple of images of him just to see what his head is like at the back. That kind of varies, but it's mostly this kind of thing, and then it just joins up here somewhere. Let me go off the page there a bit. Yeah, but it's basically just these big hair spikes back there, and then you could add some texture to them if you wanted, but it is just all black anyway. Like so. Right, so the back collar I think is here, right, and then his back should go off down that way, I'd say. And then we have a collar that comes around here and then kind of folds over. There's like an inside, and then his neckline t-shirt kind of thing, just there, and then like neck muscles and all that kind of stuff. It's all just black in here, so. And then his chest, going there. I think it's just like clothing sort of wrapped around itself. Down there. Okay. Hands. So 2 hands joined here. It's an odd position. So we're kind of looking down. So, right, we do the 2 finger bumps. 1, 2, right? Just there, 2 fingers side by side. And then we kind of just curve down there and then bump down that way. We do the same for this finger. Just bump it down to knuckles. And then his little fingers just here on the side. And then we get index. So again, hands are tricky. Hip pose if I'm moving too quick. Thumb. Starting there. Right, and this finger kind of, you can see the curved over part of it. There. And there's like knuckle lines and hand bones and all this stuff here. And then the thumbnail. fingernails. And then knuckles. All on the finger. And then finger here. My phone pinged. Sorry about that. I think this is a thumb, right? Not clear. It's drawn real rough now. So, I think this is just like the palm of his hand on the other side. So then his wrist bone kind of bumps out here. And he's got these black straps coming across his wrist. And then his other arm goes this way. So in behind, obviously there somewhere. And then he's got black on his wrist here. So I'll color these black. And then just like rocks and energy and all that kind of stuff, dust in the background again, kind of like gojo. This kind of thing. So you just do like, to make these rocks, right? So all you gotta do is like add a little angled, like normal just shape. And then from the corners, right? So from that corner you go boom, boom, boom. And then you just do as many of this as you want. And of course, he draws in like backgrounds and stuff. Such detail they put in all these manga artists. I've never appreciated comic book artists as much as manga artists as much as I did after drawing all this stuff. It's crazy. Imagine having to do like 20 pages. Anyway, thanks for watching. Thanks for the request and support on Patreon. Stray. See you in the next one. Bye.